There's a lot going on in the world right now. As of early 2026, there are 130 armed conflicts raging, not just the ones on the mainstream news. There are teenagers setting fire to places of worship in the UK, plus ongoing conflicts over land, religion, race, and gender, to name but a few. That's a massive amount of hate flowing through the veins of the people involved. Today we look at the impact hate can have on a man's mental health. Let's get into it. Hate is not a simple emotion. It is a layered psychological state that develops over time, often emerging from the interaction of cognition, memory, identity, and unmet emotional needs. To understand hate at a deeper level, it helps to see it not as a primary feeling, but as a constructed response, one that the mind builds to manage something more difficult underneath. At the psychological core of hate is threat perception. The human brain is wired to detect danger, and when something or someone is interpreted as a threat to safety, identity, or status, the mind reacts defensively. This threat does not have to be physical. It can be symbolic, a challenge to beliefs, a reminder of personal inadequacy, or a disruption of one's worldview. When such threats are repeated or unresolved, the brain begins to encode them more permanently, linking certain people, ideas, or situations with danger. Hate is the emotional reinforcement of that association. Memory plays a crucial role in this process. Negative experiences are stored more vividly than neutral or positive ones, a phenomenon known as negativity bias. When a man repeatedly recalls moments of humiliation, rejection, or injustice, those memories become emotionally charged anchors. Over time, the brain generalizes them. A single betrayal becomes "people can't be trusted." A series of failures becomes "the world is against me." Hate forms when these generalized beliefs become rigid and emotionally loaded. Another key mechanism is cognitive distortion. Hate thrives on simplified thinking patterns, black and white judgments, overgeneralizations, and confirmation bias. Once the mind adopts a hateful stance, it begins filtering information to support it. Contradictory evidence is dismissed, while supporting evidence is magnified. This creates a self-reinforcing loop. The more a man hates, the more his perception of reality bends to justify that hate. Identity is deeply entangled with hate. Humans define themselves partly through group membership, whether social, cultural, ideological, or personal. When a group identity feels threatened, hate can emerge as a way to protect it. Psychologically, this is tied to in-group versus out-group dynamics. Elevating one's own group while devaluing others creates a sense of belonging and superiority, which can temporarily stabilize a fragile self-concept. In this sense, hate is not just about others, it is also about preserving a version of oneself. There is also an element of emotional substitution. Many men are conditioned, explicitly or implicitly, to suppress emotions like fear, sadness, or vulnerability. Hate and anger, however, are often more socially permissible. As a result, the mind may convert softer, more complex emotions into harder, more actionable ones. Grief becomes anger, shame becomes contempt, fear becomes aggression. This substitution simplifies the emotional landscape, but at the cost of accuracy and healing. On a neurological level, hate engages the brain's reward and threat systems simultaneously. When someone indulges in hateful thoughts, the amygdala, responsible for processing fear and threat, becomes active. At the same time, certain forms of hate, especially when tied to moral outrage or perceived righteousness, can activate reward pathways. This creates a paradox. Hate feels justified, even satisfying, in the moment, which reinforces its repetition. The brain begins to learn hate as a viable coping strategy. Control is another underlying factor. Hate can give the illusion of control in situations where a man feels powerless. By assigning blame outward, toward a person, group, or system, he avoids confronting uncertainty or helplessness. Psychologically, this externalization protects the ego. It is easier to believe they are the problem than to face internal conflict or ambiguity. However, this comes at a cost. It prevents adaptation and locks the individual into a fixed narrative. Shame is one of the most potent drivers of deep-seated hate. Unlike guilt, which is about actions, I did something wrong. Shame is about identity. I am something wrong. When shame is too painful to confront directly, it is often projected outward. A man who feels fundamentally inadequate may develop contempt for others who reflect traits he rejects in himself. This projection allows him to distance himself from his own discomfort, but it also entrenches the hateful mindset. Over time, hate can become habitual. Neural pathways strengthen with repetition, meaning that frequently indulged thoughts become easier to access. What begins as a reaction can evolve into a default mode of thinking. This is why long-term hatred can feel automatic, even when it is no longer tied to a specific event. The brain has effectively practiced hate until it becomes a reflex. Importantly, hate narrows consciousness. It reduces complexity, flattens nuance, and limits curiosity. Psychologically, this is efficient. The brain prefers simple narratives, but it is also limiting. A man consumed by hate often loses the ability to hold multiple perspectives or tolerate ambiguity. This rigidity can lead to chronic dissatisfaction, as reality rarely conforms to such simplified views. Breaking down hate requires reversing these processes. It involves reintroducing complexity where the mind has simplified, questioning automatic thoughts, and reconnecting with the underlying emotions that hate has masked. This is not a quick or comfortable process. It requires confronting vulnerability, uncertainty, and sometimes long-avoided pain. At its deepest level, hate is less about destruction and more about protection, albeit a flawed and costly form of it. The mind builds hate to guard against perceived threats, to preserve identity, and to avoid emotional overwhelm. But in doing so, it often creates a more restrictive and distressing internal world. Understanding this paradox is key. Hate feels powerful, but psychologically, it is often rooted in unresolved fragility. Recognizing hate as a constructed, learned, and reinforced state, rather than an inevitable or fixed trait, opens the possibility for change. The same mechanisms that build hate can, with awareness and effort, be redirected toward more adaptive ways of thinking and feeling. That shift does not erase past experiences, but it changes how they are carried, and whether they continue to define the present. Let us know your thoughts on this in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching. See you all next time.